Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hoops Crush podcast. Today is episode number 28. The NBA Finals are officially over. The offseason is right ahead of us, and the draft is next week. So, a lot of exciting things to come. We got a few things to talk about today, but of course, as always, we're joined with Eric. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. If I sound or look a little funny, I had a second part of a root canal today.
Oh, man.
Tongue, lips, mouth still a little numb, so not quite talking right. Yeah, so I'm happy to have some actual off-season moves to talk about with you, Brady. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We'll keep what you just said in mind. I was not aware until you just, happened to say something there. So, I don't know if it hurts your mouth to talk too much. Maybe we may have to make this quick. I don't know, but
No, I'm all good.
you're good. All right, sounds good. So, I guess we can go ahead and start with the NBA Finals because, of course, that is over. Now, initially, I had predicted the Celtics to win the series, but the last episode you had asked me, do I think the Mavericks are going to win Game 5 before Game 6? And I said yes, and I was brutally wrong. And part of me kind of knew that was a risky prediction. I just wanted to see more basketball, but I was wrong, and right. I'll say that. But ultimately, I did have the Celtics and Mavericks in the finals. That first episode we recorded predicting the playoffs, and the Celtics do get it done. Jason Tatum has been receiving a lot of hate for some of the stuff he said and, trying to get his Kevin Garnett moment. Yeah. So I can kind of see where people are coming from because, it does feel like he was trying to, create that. But at the end of the day, Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP. The Celtics, as we said all along, were the favorites. And if they didn't get it done, it would have been disappointing. But they do get it done. They win a championship. And, of course, that team is going to remain the same next year. So they will easily be the team to beat. East should be a little bit harder next year, we would hope. I'm not saying that's going to change anything because they're still probably the best team. But we'll see. I guess this offseason will tell a lot, of course, as always.
Yeah, congrats to the Celtics. Like you mentioned, they were the best team. All the analytics of teams that dominate the rest of the league in terms of certain ratings and analytics and stuff have all won the championship in the past. So it's good for the Celtics to also join that club. And now they have the most champions out of any franchise in the NBA.
Yeah, so they lead it with 18, right? They have, I think it's 18 now. So congrats to the Boston Celtics. They were the best team all along. Tatum struggled for the first two games, but I feel like he had a great impact all series, especially with his playmaking, and just really finished the series extremely strong. At the end of the day, the Mavericks threw that team together at the deadline. So, we'll see how they build from here. I kind of like the idea of them, trying to throw Hardaway's contract, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be over the second apron just yet. I know they're getting close, if I'm not mistaken, but pretty sure they won't be there yet. So I think they can combine a couple salaries, but I could be wrong.
I think they can before the new league year, but not after. As of right now, they could always dump a salary to get under it to make it work. But the tricky part is they can't trade any of their picks until after the draft occurs because they can trade 2 firsts in the future. One is a 2025 first. And as of right now, that would be considered 2 future picks because they already have given their 2024 to the Knicks this year. But once the draft happens, then the step-in rule doesn't apply to previous drafts. So then their 2025 first-round pick opens up. And then it also opens up the 7th draft in the future, which would be the 2031 draft. So in theory, they could trade a 2025 first and a 2031 first. I don't know if they trade them unprotected, but it would be really hard to protect either of those because they couldn't go over into the consecutive year because the 2025 one would then bleed into the 2026, which would then violate the step-in rule because they owe a 2027 first, and the 2031 one, you can't trade the draft pick outside of 7 drafts from now, so they couldn't word it so it goes to the next year. So maybe it turns into seconds or something with very light protections. But I think they're going to have to do something like they did with the PJ Washington trade and just very lightly protect it, 1 or 2 or 1 to 4 or something like that.
My prediction for the Mavericks this offseason, because there was like some talks about it at the deadline. Now, he turned it down. I forgot what happened, but he basically said he didn't want to go there because they weren't a contender or something. I can't remember exactly the wording, but I wonder if they revisit the idea of Kyle Kuzma, maybe. I don't know if they would still be interested in him, but I don't think he'd be like that expensive to get with the asset pool they currently have. It would be interesting to see if they would revisit that, because I know there were some rumors that they try to look at him. Maybe they don't like him next to PJ Washington, though, potentially. Maybe they don't want to look at that anymore, but that's definitely something I could see happening, maybe. And I know people have brought up the idea of Jeremy Grant. Maybe they look at that as well. I think there's been some rumors about that. But we'll ultimately see what happens with the Mavericks. I'm sure they're going to try to do something to upgrade the roster further, as they've done a great job, for sure.
Yeah, I think there is some truth to the Jeremy Grant stuff. But obviously there's a bunch of wings or forwards that you think should be available this offseason between Ingram, Grant, Kuzma, like you mentioned. I think I'm forgetting one other one. But, those are 3 pretty quality players right now that should be on the trade market.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to the next thing, we had a couple re-signs so far. We knew that the NBA has implemented a new rule where you can negotiate with your free agents out to the finals, which I think is very cool, by the way. And we got a couple guys re-signing already. We got Pascal Siakam signing for a 4-year, $89.5 million contract. And they also have Malik Monk, which I'm a little surprised by the Malik Monk one. I thought he'd potentially be leaving Sacramento to go to a new team like Detroit or something. And he re-signs for 4 years, $78 million. So, to me, in my opinion, I just want to say I love both those re-signs for both teams. I think Sacramento keeping Malik Monk is huge. And same thing, obviously, with Indiana. I think it goes without saying that, hey, they traded a bunch of stuff to get him. Not that they traded anything like too crazy significant, but they did, in fact, trade for him. So letting him leave for nothing would have been dumb, obviously. And then Sacramento keeping Monk, I think, is huge. And I think Malik Monk's contract, I thought he'd get a little bit more, so I think getting him for around $19.5 million is pretty damn good. So I think both teams did excellent in those re-signs so far.
Yeah, I agree with both of those analysis. Siakam, you pretty much had to. I think it was a win for the Pacers that they didn't have to give him a 5th year. I'm kind of surprised that Pascal didn't ask for a 5th year. Maybe he did. Maybe that was just part of the negotiation. But yeah, pretty good because since he's already 30, to not have to pay him a max contract that 5th year. And but yeah, now you have him locked in for 4 years. You have Halliburton locked up long term. There's rumors about them possibly offering. I think they can offer Nembhard an extension similar to what Monk just got, so right around 4 years, $79-80 million. So we'll see if they lock him in long term as well. You got Miles Turner still on the books for at least another year or 2, right?
Yeah, I think he's locked up for like 2 more years.
And then so you got Nesmith locked up on an extension from last offseason. So yeah, you got most of your pieces in place. They've also talked about giving TJ McConnell an extension as well. I still think they need to kind of beef up their team a little bit and not just re-sign everyone. But I think their offseason's off to a great start with Siakam. As for Monk, even if you thought you could get 23 to 25 million on the open market, there's only a handful of teams that can offer that, and you're risking them not offering you that contract, and then possibly Sacramento had traded for Levine or someone like that, and then all of a sudden that contract that he signed isn't on the table either. The Kings only had his early bird rights, so I believe that was the most they could offer him. And he really likes being there. He's really good friends with De'Aaron Fox from their Kentucky days. And I think if you are in a good situation, you like being there, the team wants to keep you and gave you a contract the most they could give you. I don't see why you'd have to like fight for a few extra million from another team if you're happy to be there.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it's great that he stayed. I'm curious to see what both Indiana and Sacramento do next, because both teams should be looking to make upgrades. Indiana, of course, as good as they were last year, I think staying complacent and, trusting continuity is probably not the best way to go about things, especially when the East might get better. And then, of course, the Kings missed the playoffs entirely last year. They made the play-in, but it got eliminated. So, yeah, both teams should be looking to upgrade. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, when we do mock drafts, you mentioned Kyle Kuzma earlier.
Yeah.
And for the Kings, if they're there at 13, it's rumored that they're shopping that pick along with Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes pretty hard, looking for an upgrade. Now, you'd think Levine's probably not their main target now that they re-signed Monk.
Never liked that idea to begin with, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if they could have gotten him for cheap, I don't mind it. But, yeah, overall, I think they needed a better forward. And so Ingram and Kuzma have been the guys most linked to them. I don't know if they are interested in Jeremy Grant at all or anything, but that would be another destination for Grant. But an interesting scenario has come up as we've done several mock drafts on Blazers Uprise. And that's there's some rumblings that Rob Dillingham could fall. And there's certain teams that could take him in the top 10, but there's a lot of teams that have a point guard already that might pass on him. And so if San Antonio doesn't take him with one of their 2 picks and he falls to the late lottery and is on the board at 13, I think that is a win-win for the Washington Wizards to trade Kuzma to the Sacramento Kings for that 13th pick and salary filler. And if this draft rumor that Jonathan Gavoni threw out today that Alex Sarr is basically locked in, pencil him in as the number 2 pick to Washington because Atlanta is going to take either Klingon or Ricochet, and Sarr does not want to be in Atlanta, I guess, and wants to be in Washington. So if you are the Washington Wizards and you are able to get both Alex Sarr and Rob Dillingham, for my personal big board,
that'd be a great start to their rebuild.
That's the number 1 player in this draft, and I keep flip-flopping with Rob and Tajon Salon for 2 on my big board. But so basically 2 of the top 3 players on my board you would get, and they would be at the 2 positions they need the most. They got Koulibaly and Denny Avdia already on the wings. I just think that would be an excellent just catapult of their rebuild, and they'd be looking really nice and young and athletic and all that kind of stuff. So that scenario keeps popping up if Dillingham slides. So I don't know if the Wizards like Dillingham enough to do that or not, but to me, that would be a no-brainer for both teams. I think Kuzma fits well in Sacramento as well.
Yeah, I'm not even a Wizards fan, and that sounds exciting, to be honest with you. Yeah, that would be awesome. If I'm a Wizards fan, I'd be doing backflips. As I think you kind of said something about that yesterday. Yeah, I'd be excited if I was a Wizards fan. Getting Dillingham and Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr, we've been talking about how he was going to go to Atlanta, but yeah, as you said, there's been a bunch of new reports coming out, a lot of new draft things coming out. Man, Alex Sarr and Dillingham would be awesome for Washington. And then Kuzma to Sacramento. There was, as we know, he was supposed to be traded there years ago before the Lakers backed out, and they went for Russell Westbrook instead. So, yeah, I think it'd be full circle if he did eventually, get sent back to Sacramento. And I think that's definitely a trade that both teams would win, as you mentioned. So, not bad. So, do you want to stick with the draft talk, or do you want to transition to the trade?
Sure, let's save the trade for later.
Okay.
But yeah, so for those that don't know that Lakers Kings trade, so Sacramento was trading for Kuzma and I forget who were the Lakers getting?
They were getting Buddy Hield, I believe.
Oh, Buddy Hield, yeah. And was there someone else? I think there was someone else.
I think there was more in the trade, but I can't remember. It was those two were the main pieces, though.
Yeah. And yeah, it was before they traded for Westbrook. And Woj even sent out the Woj bomb. Trade's being finalized. Here's the details of the trade. And then before they called the league office, just hearing that they were close to a deal, Washington called, and they had been hesitant to give up Westbrook prior to that. And they caved at the last second. LA pulled out of the Sacramento trade and took Washington's offer for Westbrook, and the rest is history.
Yep, exactly. Still one of the biggest mistakes for the Lakers. And I mean, Sacramento, obviously, it wasn't really their fault that ended up happening. But yeah, the Lakers, of course, as we all know, dumb trade on their part. Dumb trade.
And then, yeah, we kind of touched upon it, but Alex Sarr, so apparently he wants to be a power forward with a maximized offensive role. I guess he doesn't want to play center, and he wasn't thrilled with his fit with Atlanta, or not necessarily him, but his camp was saying this. And so far, he's refused to work out for them. There's still a few days before the draft. Maybe something changes. What do you think in general about a prospect doing this kind of thing, especially in this draft where you have the potential to be a number one pick? And it's not like a normal draft where you have like LeBron James going number one or Wemby last year, and it doesn't matter what they say, you're taking him, right? You're not going to pass up on him because he doesn't want to be there. In my mind, he's obviously costing himself a little bit of money because the second pick doesn't make as much as the first pick. But I don't like that mindset from a prospect that like you have to go to like an ideal situation, or you kind of try to fit that. And like, why is Washington an ideal situation for you, but not Atlanta? And to me, I'd rather have a prospect, and I put Castle in the same realm because he's also said like, oh, I need to be a place where I can showcase myself as a lead point guard, and I don't want to go to a team that I have to do the things that I did and sacrifice to win, and like I did in UConn. And I prefer prospects to be like, if you draft me, best move you made, we're gonna eventually win a championship because I'm gonna help you lead you there. Not, oh man, I don't really like how I fit on this team. I don't know, man. I'd rather go somewhere else. I think that's kind of weak. And Alex Sarr is my favorite prospect in this draft. So it's hard for me to say that about him, but I do kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but I was disappointed that came out.
I think player empowerment is leaking into the prospects. I think that's what's going on right now. No.
But like, none of the prospects here are good enough to be empowered yet.
That's why it's weird. It is weird. I can kind of understand why like he wants to go to the Wizards, because they don't really have a guy yet. Like, they don't have that established guy. Kyle Kuzma ain't gonna be there forever. They have Abdia and below Kalabali, but who knows if they'll ever really be much more than just, really good role players. Maybe below has a higher ceiling than that. But I can understand why, because in Atlanta, you have your established guy in Trae Young, and maybe Alex Sarr really cares about trying to be the number one guy. He wants a huge offensive role. So I guess I could kind of understand that. But at the same time, if he was paired with Trae Young, that would probably make things easier for him as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. It is definitely a weird mentality. Same thing with Stephon Castle, but maybe Castle's really just saying that because he wants to go play with Wemby. I don't know. It's just how it is, man. Like, these players, maybe we're going to continue to see that in drafts. And it's not the first time we've kind of seen that happen before. Like, I can think of plenty of NFL examples where like Eli didn't want to go to the Chargers. There's a bunch of rumors about Daniels not wanting to go to Commanders for a while there. But NBA, I feel like there's definitely some times when that's happened as well. But for some reason, I can't think of any. Man, yeah, it's tough. I don't know if I agree with it either. But that's just kind of where the league is now, man. I feel like that's gonna be a trend that continues to happen. I don't think it's gonna stop either. I think we're gonna see prospects do stuff like this, and I think it's just because they see how these players, rule the league.
Well, we saw Wemby's first year already talk about, does he need to leave San Antonio to win?
Yeah.
And like, what is San Antonio doing to win around him? It's like, chill, he's a rookie. Like,
yeah.
Obviously they do need to build around him, but you'd think he would trust an organization that has won 5 titles in the last 25 years.
Absolutely.
But small market, so they don't get the benefit of the doubt, I guess.
No, they do not. They want to get him to the biggest market as soon as possible. That's how the media works in the NBA, which is one thing I hate about the media. That's just how it works in the NBA, is the big markets win and prevail. So that's the one disappointing thing. Every star that becomes available is immediately linked to the Lakers and Knicks and everyone else. You know how it all works. And then a small market team comes out of nowhere. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But the other rumor that, draft that actually involves our Portland Trailblazers is, I know you guys mentioned this yesterday, and this was the first time I had actually heard it, from you guys, that we were interested in potentially trading up to draft Reed Shepherd, apparently. Isn't that what was said?
Well, not necessarily. It's that, okay, there was an article in The Athletic saying the Grizzlies, Hornets, and Blazers continue to try to move up. That's no surprise. Jake L. Fisher had a note today that we have for sure contacted the Houston Rockets about moving up to 3. I don't know where those trade talks stand currently, but I mean, there's just too many people reporting that we're trying to move up for it not to be true at this point. So Blazers are trying to move up. But in this article, it said that all 3 are interested in both Donovan Clingan and Reed Shepherd, and that all 3 teams have them very highly rated on their draft boards.
Oh, man. It does not sound great, to be honest.
I mean, if it's true we trade up to 3, we're guaranteed one of Clingan, Sarr, or Ricochet. I find it hard to believe that the Blazers in that situation, I mean, obviously Clingan was one of the 2 names I just mentioned. So if he's there at 3, that's the guy most likely, right? Whether you agree that should be their move or not, which we can argue about too. But like, if they move up to 3 and Clingan's on the board, I'm shocked if they take someone else. Like I just will not understand all these rumors or whatever, and maybe there were smoke screens or whatever, but you're basically driving up the price of the 3rd pick by doing the smoke screen. So that's kind of dumb if you do that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't, unless they trade up to a different spot than 3, I don't understand why they would take Reed Shepherd over Ricochet or Clingan if they're on the board, given that whether you think Ricochet is going to be a great prospect or not, or has a high ceiling, he's a 3-and-D player. He shoots the 3 well, and he's thought of as a really good defender. So you fill one of your biggest needs at the small forward position in getting a 3-and-D guy, a legit 3-and-D guy. So I don't understand why we take a 6'1" guard over him if that draft goes Clingan, Sarr 1-2.
Yeah, we haven't been attached to Ricochet at all. It feels like, not that, obviously because he's not in our range at all where we're currently. Yeah, that would be. I think if we were trading up to 3, I think that would probably be the best pick we could possibly make in that scenario. Although you and I have both said that this is the draft where you don't really want to trade up, but I would be okay with getting Ricochet for sure if that's what they really wanted to do. Part of me also wonders if this is just really like Houston is a team that wants to win. So this is like one of those destinations where we could send Grant, Brogdon, or whoever it may be to them. And maybe, that solves a tax problem right away. And then at least you're getting the 3rd overall pick out of it as well, whether you're attaching 7 or 14 or hopefully not both. But if you're trading one of the Brogdon or Grant. But yeah, that will be interesting to see if we do end up trading the 3 and how much emotions that would cause us all. Because, man, we're going to be sitting there like, oh, goodness, what are we doing? Who are we drafting? Who do we trade up for? Because that just puts all the more pressure on, on it being the right pick when you trade up like that. So, draft night, it's coming quick. So, got to be prepared.
I can't see any way we're watching a Neil Olshey. Or not Neil Olshey. Wow, man, Freudian slip there. A Joe Cronin press conference after the draft being like, oh, we just wanted to take the best player on our board, and that was Reed Shepherd. I mean, with everything that's happened and them still having, the 3 guards and 4 if you include Brogdon right now, I find it hard to believe that they put themselves in the position of adding another one. And maybe one of the guards is in the trade to move up to get him, and they think Reed Shepherd's going to be better than that guard. So that's how they justify it. But, man, I don't know, man.
So with the draft being next week, do you have like an ultimate prediction on what you think the Blazers are going to do?
I'm like really torn. I know they want to move up, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it or if they're going to get outbid or if all the teams up there are just going to stay put. Or if like Houston gets what they ultimately want, and that's Mikal Bridges instead of whatever the Grizzlies and Hornets and Blazers are offering. So, sorry.
No, you're good.
So my prediction is that they stay at 7. And so disclaimer, I'm not trying to be an insider. I'm not saying you have to believe this or whatever. But I have heard that they have Connect in a tier above the forwards, and that includes Montas Buzelis, Ron Holland, Cody Williams. That trio of forwards, I've heard if the scenario plays out where it's Connect on the board and whichever number of those forwards, that they probably take Connect over them. So that would be my prediction. I've also heard that they do like Salon better than those 3 forwards as well. This could still change, but I don't know who they'd pick between Salon and Connect. Obviously, there's pros and cons for each. But yeah, I'm going to say they stay at 7 and just take Connect there.
I feel like Connect's going to go before that, though, for some reason.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's going to go to – because Charlotte's picking at 6, right? Yeah, so they're picking at 6. And then Detroit's picking 5.
Yeah.
I feel like those are two both really good destinations for Connect, as both teams are trying to – I think Connect would be a great fit next to LaMelo and Brandon Miller. And then also – obviously Detroit needs shooting, and Connect would be awesome for them as well. So I don't feel like Connect makes it to 7. So if it's Salon,
if you do not want the Blazers to draft Connect, that's good then, right?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against this draft to Connect, but yeah, I don't think he's making it to 7. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I just feel like Detroit and Charlotte make a ton of sense for him.
Yeah. So let's just say Reed Shepherd then and Dalton Connect are gone, and then they're be one other player. I don't know who that would be.
So we think Klingon's going 1, Sarr 2, Ricochet, whoever. Let's say he goes 3. Maybe it's not. Maybe someone trades up to get him. I don't know. And then 4, Stefan Castle maybe. And then that would be, maybe. And it'd be Shepard, Connect, and one of those two ways, and then you're left with like Buzelis, Ron Holland, Salon, like you said. So I feel like that's how it could play out. I don't know. That's just how I feel like today, as of today, that I think I could see it going that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they take Salon in that scenario then.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Just gut feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting if they decided to go that route. So I know some Blazers fans would probably want Buzelis or Ron Holland, but maybe you could get one of the maybe not 14. I think that's a little too crazy for. Or maybe Holland would drop that far. I don't know if Buzelis would drop that far though. So, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, if one of those 3 forwards that I mentioned, Buzelis, Holland, or who was the other one? Cody Williams. If one of them fall to 14. I think there's too much value to pass up on any of them. So I think you got to take one of them. I don't know, man. To me, I think that the Blazers are not that enamored with any of them. And that's kind of disappointing because I think, in my opinion, Buzelis would be a really good fit. Cody Williams potentially could be. Holland, if he figures it out, could be better than all 3 of them. So I wouldn't mind taking any of them. But I also like Salon more than those 3 as well. So if that's the guy they take, I'm happy with that as well. Just all right, so he's not going to help him anytime soon. Probably it was the problem, and then people sour on him, and
So as we know, or as you guys know, this is being recorded on the 21st, so this will be uploaded the 22nd. Comment down below your guys' draft predictions. Who do you guys think the Blazers will take at 7? Comment that down below. But with that all being said, unless you have anything else to add about the draft,
let's see. Well, that's pretty much everything. This is a draft related, but Orlando, since they're obviously not going to have a chance to get Malik Monk now, rumors are they're going to turn to offering Klay Thompson.
Oh, Klay! I thought you were going with Dan. Going to
Anthony. Well,
that's been talked about a lot too.
Yeah, Anthony is also a possibility. I don't think the Blazers are going to trade him. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I think that's a good move unless someone offers. I think they should keep him unless someone offers a really good offer. I don't think, like a lot of fans seem to, that we need to get rid of him or anything.
Right.
I think he's our best player, and I think it's kind of silly to put that much stock in other players that haven't shown anything or shown enough yet. I wouldn't say anything. But shown enough yet to prove that they're as good as him. So I find it hard to reason that it's him that should be the guy that needs to go when like we could trade him and then none of these guys are ever as good as he is right now. So that's where I'm at, and I think the team kind of feels the same way, that like unless another team offers a ton for him, they're pretty much locked into keeping him. There was some buzz about Detroit possibly, once they did not get one of the top couple picks, potentially offering the 5th pick and salary relief for Anthony, which could have been interesting, I guess. But they have since disposed of Monty Williams and Troy Weaver and are going to have a new coach and have a new whole front office with Trajan Langdon. And so I don't think that they have the same interest level in Anthony as the previous regime did. So that's probably off the table. But yeah, the Magic apparently are considering an offer kind of like what Bruce Brown with Indiana last year, where you just do a short-term contract, but it's probably an overpay. And then if it doesn't work out, you have a big contract you could trade, I guess.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea if you're Orlando. Clay, it's going to be interesting to see Clay in a different uniform, though, if that does end up happening. That's going to be weird to see. But which I had actually forgot about, which you just said, Monty Williams got fired, and, of course, the Lakers have officially hired JJ Redick. So, Detroit eats a lot of money, but with Troy Weaver gone, it looks like they're going to reset things once again. So Monty is gone. He's making a ton of money not to coach. We'll see if he gets hired somewhere. Immediately my head started saying, oh, what if Detroit wants their boy back? Chauncey could go back to Detroit and coach, but I don't think that's going to happen. But JJ Redick going to the Lakers, we knew this could inevitably happen once Dan Hurley thing didn't actually happen, and that's kind of what was been said even before all that dropped. I don't love it for JJ. I'm going to be honest with you. First time head coach being, coaching a LeBron-led team and the Lakers of all teams. You know how quickly those fans turn on their head coach if things aren't going well. So I think it could be a mistake for JJ Redick, but maybe he just comes in right away and does a fantastic job and turns that team around. They were a playoff team, or play-in team, but, got in the playoffs. But, yeah, there's going to be obviously a lot of expectations on his shoulders right away. So we'll see if it ends up paying off. I hope it's not, I hope it doesn't turn out like the Steve Nash coaching gig and this actually works out for JJ Redick, but we'll see what happens there. Man, what do you think about Redick to the Lakers?
I don't really mind it. I mean, you can take a shot. I guess you could always say you've learned a lot from that. I mean, how many coaches have we seen get second opportunities? So I don't know if that necessarily precludes him from getting another chance.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But
Steve Nash hasn't gotten another chance.
Yeah, true. But
I don't know.
I don't know how much Steve Nash wants to coach after doing that.
That too. I don't know even if he wants to.
Like some of these players that, especially as we move on throughout NBA history, like. Even if, let's just say Damian Lillard could potentially be the greatest coach ever or whatever. Why would he want to even coach? He's sitting on by that time, he'll make like $500 million or something in his career. And so there's no real need to be a coach, So some of those guys. Yeah, maybe.
Their life is all basketball.
Feed your competitive fire.
Yeah, they're like, I want to stay in basketball, maybe. I guess I could see it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems more because there aren't a lot of really good players that become good coaches. And Redick's probably he's more in the role player role, not great player. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it'll be because he's never coached before.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're going to hire some former players to go with them. Rajon Rondo. Apparently, they're going to try to go after Chris Paul in free agency as well.
Oh, interesting.
And then someone I think DeJounte would be a really good get for them.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they're able to pull off a big trade like that. We'll also see what they do with Bronny and the whole their draft pick situation. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like you mentioned, it is kind of a tough spot. LeBron's going to be 40. I don't know, man. I don't know if that team has anything left, but if they make some smart moves, maybe. But I mean, it is a team that, going back to Phil Jackson, hasn't kept a coach longer than 3 years. So I don't know, man. It's a tough spot.
Yeah, it's tough. But with that all being said, the final thing to talk about today, a trade went down, man. I was happy
to see a trade.
I was too. Alex Caruso has been sent to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Giddey. And there has been a lot of differing opinions on this trade, and I love that. I love it when the NBA, as fans, we don't agree on a trade. I think it's awesome. And I think that's the best part about the NBA, because you get to be like, okay, that trade worked out or it didn't. I know a lot of people hate that, that the Bulls got Josh Giddey. I know they do. And I definitely understand in some circumstances why it is a terrible trade. One thing I like about it, I will say, so let me explain why I actually like this trade for both teams. Obviously, the Thunder goes without saying. You're getting Alex Caruso. You're getting one of the best role players in the NBA, and you get to add to that defense that was already extremely good last year. That's awesome for the Thunder. Home run. You trade Josh Giddey, who, I had the privilege of being the Thunder in the mock off season, and no one wanted Giddey. Literally, like nobody. I found one person, and he was Australian, and you know how Australians love their, Aussie players. So I think that was a huge advantage in my corner for ever getting anything for Josh Giddey, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have gotten anything more than the second round pick. So I don't know if that's how his value would have been in real life, but there's a chance that Giddey's value wasn't going to be very good. And to get Alex Caruso out of that is insane. So obviously, round of applause to Sam Presti. For the Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey, of course, as we all know, is not the best player ever or anything like that. And there's a lot of differing opinions on him. There's the off-court things, as we all know, but just focusing strictly on basketball. I love it, the fact that this signals that Chicago, hopefully, is going rebuild mode. If they plan on keeping DeRozan and Levine and Vucevic and running, especially with DeRozan and Giddey is disgusting, is a terrible fit. I really hope that this means they're losing DeRozan. Now, that also means they might be losing DeRozan for nothing, because signing trades, I'm not even sure where DeRozan would want to go, where he could sign and they could trade him. So there might be a team that pops up. I don't know. But yeah, so that might suck for them. Chicago has done everything wrong up to this point, and probably still right now as well. But
so why are you giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to trade?
I'm hoping, because I'm optimistic for Bulls fan, that this signals they're resetting things. That's what I'm hoping for.
No, I think it's the exact opposite. This is what's going to happen. We just acquired the starting small forward on the number 1 seed, right? That's going to be that's going to be what they say. Watch their press conference. This guy started in the playoffs for the number 1 seed.
There's no way they could say that. That would be hilarious. He also got played off the floor. So
I know. Like, how many times on this show did you say like they gotta put Giddey on the bench, man?
Yeah, but I also think that's just because he didn't fit there at all in Oklahoma City. Now,
right.
I know still there's a lot of weaknesses in his game as a playoff performer. We'll see if he can develop that. He is only 21. I know not everyone turns into an all-star potential or whatever, but I do believe Giddey in Chicago will have a lot more freedom if they move on from everybody. That's the biggest thing. So, taking that chance, he is going to be a restricted free agent next offseason, so we'll see what they end up doing with that. So if nothing else is a 1-year deal and you lose him for nothing, then you lost Caruso for nothing. So yeah, Chicago has done a bad job. Don't get me wrong.
What? So what are they going to pay him?
I don't know.
$20 million a year? Are you getting a Malik Monk contract or something? Like, they were asking for 4 first-round picks a few months ago. Like,
it's a good trade to where they're at this point, in my opinion. Maybe not good is not the right word, but it's an okay trade.
But you're assuming they're good. This is the first step of going young, which may not be the case.
If they don't go young, I hate it. Yeah. You can't bring in Giddey and re-sign DeMar DeRozan and think that's going to work. That I hate it. If this signals they're trading Levine, getting rid of DeRozan,
I think Levine's gone. But
Levine's gone no matter what. But I don't know, man. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I'll hate it a lot more if DeRozan's staying. I'll say that.
You know that? Have you ever seen that Usher meme where it's like, watch this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what the Bulls are doing to you right now, Brady. They're saying, watch this.
Oh, my gosh.
You don't think we can keep all these guys?
Oh, man, dude, I really hope that's not what they're thinking. I think Bulls fans they're already in pain. I think they'd be even more pain if they realize that we just traded for Giddey to try to compete still. Like, no.
They're starting front court next year with DeRozan, Giddey, and Vucevic. Here we go.
Oh my gosh, that spacing is disgusting. I know Vucevic can shoot a little bit, but yeah, that spacing is him and DeRozan is terrible. That is like the worst fit I could ever even imagine. So, DeRozan is one of those guys that obviously a mid-range assassin, but Giddey can't shoot at all. He was left wide open in the playoffs. As a tank commander for the Bulls, I would like it for them. They have their in it. Tim, like, also, I know you're saying that, watch this, but their pick is top 10 protected. So you would think that that they would go and be like, all right, let's go tank, so we can keep our pick in this good draft class. At least I hope that's the mindset. Because if it's not, then Chicago, what are you doing?
It'll be the same. They'll finish the same as this year and have the 11th
be a play-in team. Oh,
it'll be the one off of getting protected. It'll be the opposite of Dallas last year. They'll win one too many games and. I'm
gonna go on a limb and say they lose DeRozan. Now I will say if they lose him for nothing, that would really suck. But this is what they get for not rebuilding sooner. So. Yeah. They made their bed, now you lie in it. You reap what you sow. You can say whatever terminology you want, but you got to try to keep that pick and, capitalize on this potentially very good draft class. So I like it in that regard, but
yeah. In terms of Giddey's value though, whether you want to hold it against him or not, the off-court stuff, it is a PR thing. And
right.
His value should have taken a hit because of it, fair or unfair. We've seen him everywhere he's gone since then. He's gotten booed, whether it's Portland or in the playoffs or whatever. Fans have booed him. Let's be clear. The investigation wasn't that he didn't do it. It was that
it was inconclusive. Like they didn't find
it. It was
anything.
that the family and the girl wouldn't cooperate, so they couldn't prove anything, so they don't have any way to show that. And then he, I guess, tried to say that she lied about her age or whatever, which...
Is that what he ended up saying? Because I know that's what everyone said, or not everyone. I know some people have said
I don't know if that was actually from him or like his agent or something. But yeah, apparently that was what they were going with. I don't know if that's 100% true. I just thought I had heard that. So my bad if that's not the case. But, I mean, obviously, there's players that, to me, like Miles Bridges, right, shouldn't have any freaking trade value.
Right.
And so if you're a team trading for that guy and you're not getting a good deal back, if it's kind of like a head scratcher move, then I doubly don't get it because Caruso's a better player than Giddey. And you could have gotten more for Caruso in the past. Probably could have gotten more for him in the future if you're going that young route, rebuilding route like you think they're going. You probably could have gotten, well, the rumor is that they were offered a pick that ended up being top 10 or something in this draft. Or they've gotten offered lottery type picks in the past for him. And you'd think, I mean, I don't think his value, Caruso's value has deteriorated at all. So you'd think you would be able to get at least a couple good picks for him this summer. So when you factor all those in, when I heard the trade, I was like, okay, the Bulls probably got pick 12, right? Because that's what OKC has. So if it's Giddey at 12, I'm like, okay, Bulls, I kind of like that, But just Giddey, no picks, taking on that PR hit possibly, and then factoring in fit issues and if Giddey is actually that good or not. I hate it for the Bulls, man. That's just horrible asset management. And we've seen teams now like keep their players too long. Like Toronto ended up getting a lot less for their players because they waited too long. Detroit with like a Bojan Bogdanovic at the deadline last year. The previous deadline, they said they were offered 2 firsts and turned it down because they liked him so much. And then they ended up not even getting a first for him this trade deadline. So John Collins in Atlanta, like for years was mentioned and like it was going to be traded every year, and then they don't do it. And then they end up, I forget if they had to give up a second or got a second or something, but that was very low value for Collins. So yeah, it's just I don't know. We've seen that a lot where teams that should be hitting the reset button and moving their assets hold on to them too long, and then DeRozan, you could get nothing for him now. So
just wait until we see the Levine trade. I imagine it's gonna be terrible. I don't think they're gonna get a lot for him. So
yeah, and a couple of years ago, before he started having major injury concerns, you probably could have gotten a pretty good haul for him.
Yeah,
but now
he's also on a big contract now, so that makes it even worse. But what do you think?
Yeah, it might be one of the worst contracts.
Yeah, what do you think they do with Lonzo? Do you think they keep him or I don't know what they do with him because they make it sound like Lonzo isn't going to be available or he isn't part of the plans at all based off what they said about Giddey.
I think with Lonzo, you basically just treat it as an expiring contract. I think you hold on to it. I think it would be foolish for them to use his contract and like a first round pick or something to pay to get rid of him. So I think they should just keep him. If he gives you anything next year, maybe he plays and recoups some trade value and you can move him at the deadline. But I wouldn't give up. Like, let's say Portland, they had a trade for they weren't trying to rebuild, they were trying to win still, and they offered our pick back and for
oh my god
with Lonzo for Brogdon or something, which might be a good move for us, but like
that would be backwards for them.
But yeah, like I don't know. Then you risk Lonzo playing again and being good, which is the biggest part of it. But I just don't understand why you'd pay to give that scenario. Like you said, just join the rebuild teams and just go all in with that. And then, fine. Just deal with him for one more year, and then he's gone probably.
I could see the Hornets trading for Lonzo, maybe. I could see that. I could see them maybe saying, we have his brother. Maybe we can bring in Lonzo as well. But that's like the one team I could see trading for him right now. But I wouldn't rule out maybe another team taking a chance on him. But his value would be extremely low, of course, right now. Like, would not be very good at all.
I think you have to give up a first to take him.
First,
unless
it's like to take him, yeah, okay.
Well, if you took on a horrible salary, but we just talked about Zach LaVine. They have one of the worst salaries already. I don't know who you're getting.
Grant Williams for Lonzo. You get off Grant Williams' contract, and you get Lonzo Ball if you're Charlotte.
Are you doing that for either team?
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would consider it maybe for both sides, but
yeah.
It's nothing like crazy. Because if you're Chicago, what does bringing in Grant Williams do? Like, you'd probably want another asset. And then, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just spitballing. Maybe it doesn't make any sense, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Bulls, man. Hopefully they don't go and try to compete still. I don't think they will, but we'll see what happens. I know they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt because they haven't been able to do anything the last 2 years going that route, but I'll give it to them now, based off the Caruso for Josh Giddey trade. But I think that's it for me, unless you got anything else to add.
No, so next episode of Hoops Crush will be after the draft. So like Brady said earlier, give us your predictions for the Blazers. Are we going to trade up? Are we going to stay at 7? Who are we going to draft at 7? Who do you want the Blazers to draft at 7? All those, let us know in the comments. We always appreciate your guys' comments down there. And then thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you all. We should have, we'll definitely have a couple new Blazers next time we talk. And then, a draft should be a good trade time to make a move somehow. So Blazers are in a little bit of a roster crunch in terms of if they keep all these picks and stuff, and something's got to give. Look to see what their move is, and we can break it down. Hopefully we're not like, for me, Chicago fans right now talking about how horrible of a trade we made again.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching. We will see y'all in the next one. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.